and we've enjoyed the Lord's table together. We want to take a moment, if we can, to transition. We have Missions Month coming up. It's why we exist, right? You were saved to multiply and tell other people about Christ, that they might become his disciples, they might be a part of a church, they might be edified, that they would go out and make disciples as well. And so our whole purpose as Christians and as a church and as churches is to what? Just keep on multiplying. If a church isn't multiplying, there could be some rare exceptions to the rule, of course. There is to be a concern about that, because even under persecution, churches have done what? Multiplied. So I get there's always maybe a rare exception case, as it were, but ultimately we should be multiplying. So with that in mind, we have our Missions Month ahead in May, and frankly, we wanted to do something a little bit different. Now, I find myself often wanting to do things that seem antagonistic, or I'm a protagonist. I don't try to be. It just seems to be how it is sometimes. So we have these two gentlemen to help rein me in on some of that, which is good. But what we've desired to do is have a Missions Month that kind of flips everything on its head on purpose to try to encourage us and walk through and think through some different things. So we wanted to give an overview so you could already start planning for it, making adjustments. It will only be as good as you make it and let it be, right? And so that's our desire and that's our goal. So we want to take a few minutes tonight to walk through. So if you could put me to the next slide, here's what we're seeking to do in the month of May. Our goal is this: to create, in a limited fashion, a month of experiences that help us consider what our brothers and our sisters in Christ experience as Christ Church and for the gospel endeavor. And so I understand we're in Western culture. I understand we're in this century. I understand we're in an affluent community. I understand all that comes with that as much as humanly possible. I totally get that. And I'm not saying it's wrong or we shouldn't be thankful and enjoy it and minister in that fashion. That's not what we're saying at all. We are just saying perspective goes a long way in helping us in not only Thanksgiving, but in gospel usage and in gospel telling. So that said, this is what we're going to be doing. And some of you are connection group leaders and you're in charge of this and you're in charge of that and you've made schedules and you're going to hate it by the time tonight is done, and we love you. We really do. So you can hit me the next slide. Here's what we're going to start off with. Sunday, May 5th, not next Sunday, Sunday after that, we're doing a Third World Church service. Everybody said amen. Amen. 3 of us, so the kids just don't know that it's better. So Third World Church service. Again, a bit of irony, because we're still going to be in America. We're still going to go eat somewhere. So it's, irony here, right? But Third World Church service. We're meeting out in the grass back there. So bring your chair. If you have a conditioner issue for the sun, bring a hat, bring an umbrella, bring a pop-up. That feels like it's a little contrary to the third world, but get what I'm saying here. There's not going to be any nursery or kids classes that day. And some parents right now are like, oh my goodness, that's all right. It's going to be great. It's going to be no nursery, no kids classes for that 10 a.m. hour. It's in the grass. Bring your chair. It's going to be an unair conditioned, no technology service. It is going to be out there. We are not putting a time limit on the service. How many messages will there be? We'll find out. So that's going to be the very first morning service. And so I want to encourage you. It will be everything you make it, and it will be as bad as you let it be, right? And so it's going to be that. And how many of you, this is a good question to ask here, how many of you have attended a church service somewhere other than not only America, but what we'd call a first world country? How many of us? All right. There's a few in the room. So I think you all know it varies. We understand that. But how many of you was it like it is here on a Sunday morning or any church in America? Those hands are gone suddenly, right? So that's not to say like, oh, there's all these superior people among us. Not that. It's just to say we've all enjoyed having our apple cart upended in a good way and realizing it's great to celebrate Christ in whatever way that culture does. In third world countries, it usually is, because people have walked miles to get there, a very long service. And it just goes and goes on purpose. So third world country service, that's going to be on the 5th. And so do what you need to, but bring your water, whatever you want to do. It's going to be a great time. All right. Next slide, Pastor Tyler.
So that night, am I on? That night we're going to be mimicking an underground service. So a lot of areas, I think it's 1 in 7 Christians are in persecution around the world. And so we want to mimic and really try and understand what an underground church service would look like. Like Third World, it's going to vary a lot. Every nation looks a little bit different. Middle Eastern nations under persecution look a lot different than South American or Asian countries under persecution. So it's going to look different. But we're going to have staggered arrival times. We're going to be meeting here. We'll be in some of the classrooms, maybe one. We're going to be packed in. It's not going to be super comfortable. Staggered arrival times so that the group can't be tracked. We're going to be singing quietly so that we can't be heard. And then we're going to study what persecuted churches look like and then do a small message, kind of simulating that persecuted church. And then after that, as we're going home, we're going to be taking home one page of the Bible. This is our next slide, I think. So each person is going to receive only one page of the Bible to go home with that day, because throughout the world, not everybody has access to an entire Bible. Some people will just get one page that they'll get for a week, and then when they come back to church, they'll swap it. And so we'll start it that night, but throughout the month, we're going to be swapping one page of the Bible every week. So you bring your page of the Bible home, and we'll encourage you just to study that page of the Bible through the week, which is crazy. Study less of the Bible. Study just one specific thing, but we really want you to be intentional and specific in your study of that, and even copy it down. Maybe write yourself a copy of it, and then bring back the original copy. That way, the next week you have your first page, and then you've got a second page. And then the third week, you got your first and second, and then a third page of the Bible. And so we really want to mimic this limited Bible capacity and dig in and study hard what little Bible that we can through the month. After that, we'll be rolling into, I forget what the next thing is.
Ta-da. Somebody right now is just praying they don't get Leviticus, am I right? So I'm going to read the month, or for this week, I'm reading all about the entrails, so which have a very important significance, friends. So then Mother's Day, this is where I really want to do a lot of helpful, encouraging things, and I was told no, and so it's going to be a bit of a different service. It will be indoor. We love your mamas, all right? We're going to have the HVAC and all that jazz. It's going to be a little bit more, and this is irony, right, in Western culture, an unplanned service. There could be anything like that, but we get the idea. It's going to be a little bit unplanned and spontaneous. A lot of times churches around the world, not in third world countries, just are a little bit more loose and flowy, if you know what I'm saying. They're good. They're like culottes. They're loose and flowing. It's a fundy joke for a few in the crowd. There you go. So unplanned and spontaneous. There's some people who have been to a place like that, and they're like, oh, little Sally wants to come up and sing. Come up, Sally. And she's like, Jesus. It's like, well, we'll just keep rolling here, right? In Western culture, we bite our nails if something goes wrong. Not the case. So we're going to do that on Mother's Day morning. As typical, we don't have an evening service on Mother's Day because we want you to spend time with your family members. We know perhaps some of your family members are not believers. We really want you to devote that time to connecting, spending time talking to, trying to help get the gospel to them on Mother's Day. And so we'll have that service in the morning. If you bring mom, you'll be able to open up all sorts of conversations because of it. It's going to be great. And so we have that. Then we roll into our next slide here, and I believe I'm turning it back over to, no, I'm going to keep it for a second. The 13th through the 17th. So you have Mom's Day. Then that week, this matters for the 11 o'clock service, the evening service, and for Awanas, there will be no midweek AM or PM that week. Why? Because we're going to be meeting every day leading up to the missions conference. There's going to be every morning, every other morning and every other evening, 30-minute prayer services on purpose for our missionaries. And you may say, does this happen? It even happens right down the roads here, friend. A lot of Asian countries have daily prayer services. The house I used to live on Fernwall, across the street's a Chinese Christian church. They meet every morning at 6 o'clock. Every single morning. If you go there, you see the cars come in and out. And for us as Westerners, we're like, that's a little too much. We actually might be the ones out of step internationally on this. And I don't sound condescending or unkind. I get it. We are a different culture. But we're going to have a little taste of that. I understand for some of you, it may be like, hey, I'm already at work by 6 a.m. or I've got dropping off kids right at 6 a.m. Okay, so this is not this criticism and judgment. We're just trying to encourage everybody. Flex, make the space, do what you can. Do what you can. And we have prayer every morning here or every other at 6 a.m. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, it's going to be at 7 p.m. Maybe one day you're not maybe able to make a morning, you're able to make the next evening, whatever it is. I want to encourage you, say no to whatever you can, morph whatever you can to come 6 to 6:30 or 7 to 7:30. And we promise it is 30 on the nose and out. And so we want to do that and just remind ourselves, this is what it looked like in the early church. And this is what it looks like in several other places around the world as well. Again, it's not prescriptive in the Bible that we're doing wrong before God if we don't do this. It's descriptive, and we see this practice in Christian history and even internationally right now. So 13th through the 17th, that's leading up to the missions conference, and that's going to be starting there. All right, turn it over to Brother Tyler on this now.
Yeah, so the next challenge, and all of these are challenging. They're uncomfortable, but we're trying to make ourselves uncomfortable for a purpose so that we understand what other Christians are going through and so that we can really have a heart for missions in a better and more real way. And that means changing our diet too. So through this week, what we want to do is we want to try and eat a diet that's more in line with most of the world eats. So that's rice, beans, fruit, water, coffee, and oatmeal, vegetable, and eggs, but limited meat and dairy, and really trying to incorporate rice and beans as like the main thing in each of our meals, because that's most of the time what people are eating throughout the world. And so it's hard, right? And we're all going through this difficult diet. But then on Sunday, we'll have our missions conference, and we'll have cultural meals brought in, and that'll be like the celebration time. We'll get to celebrate together that we did it, and we made it a whole week holding back from our American diets and our junk food and McDonald's and Oreos. And so I'd really encourage everybody to take this seriously. And different dietary challenges, different health challenges may not be able to meet this in the same way, but really challenge yourself where you can in your life to make this mean something and make this important in your life.
Thanks, Brother Tyler. Yeah, so that's not overly exciting, is it? And again, we do want to stress, if you do have some kind of dietary situation or health situation, we understand that. God understands, right? But I want to encourage you too, if it's in your purview and capacity, let's do it. Let's do it. If you're like, I hate rice, we'll have a lot of beans. You'll be single, but have a lot of beans. So, whatever it is. But I want to encourage you, most people around the world have limited access to dairy or meat at special occasions. It's celebratory, and so we're aiming for that celebratory meal on that Sunday. So that's going to lead us into our missions conference with Dr. Alan Branch. As we look at this next slide and think about it, we have our friend, Dr. Branch, who's been with us several times, has a passion for evangelism and for missions. He's going to be with us. He's going to speak Friday at 7, Saturday morning at 10, Sunday morning at 10, and then of course we're having the lunch and an afternoon encouragement / charge from Dr. Branch. So I understand you might say, that's a pretty packed week. It's on purpose. We're saying no to ourselves and yes to what God wants to do in our life, and we're just doing this in a significant way, maybe abnormally so on purpose. So that's going to lead up to that international meal. We want to encourage you as a potluck or as a bring-in or a carry-in, as it used to be called. Bring in your favorite international meal, whatever it is, and listen, so help me, if one of you brings in Little Caesars and says it's Italian, it's not going to be good. So I encourage you to do that. Maybe get a little outside the purview. Maybe make something odd for you or odd for us. Just don't give anybody food poisoning and we'll have a good time, right? And so that's going to be the 17th through the 19th through Dr. Branch. And I understand right now you might be saying, oh, I've got late work on that Friday, or I got kickball practice, or I've got band practice, whatever it is, just say no. As best as you can. It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help you. Say no. And Dr. Branch may hate me and not be my friend after this, after he inherits a hangry crowd from having veggies and beans all week, but I'm glad he's coming. So that's the 17th through the 19th. I'll just skip ahead to the next slide. You're going to see what's taking place, and I'm going to turn that over to Pastor Derek.
Thanks, Pastor Paul. On the 26th, as the final concluding Sunday of Missions Month, we're going to have a missions family, the Wyatts. Remind me where they're going again? England. They're going to be joining us in the morning, and we're going to hear about what God is leading them to go and do and how we can partner with them. It's going to be a wonderful time together. And then in the evening, we're going to have an incredible service that I'm really excited about. One more thing about the morning, because I forgot. in the morning for that service, we are going to have some unique singing. So be prepared, come in. The songs that we're going to be singing are going to be geared more towards a repetitive nature. So a call and a response type worship on that Sunday morning. It's going to be a great time together. And then during the evening service, we're going to have the next generation service. We're encouraging our young people that are growing in the church to begin utilizing their gifts to be able to accomplish things within the body. And so they're going to be taking over the worship side, the singing portion of our service. We're going to have a young man speak from the Word, challenging us in the area of missions from God's Word. It's going to be a wonderful time together. It'll be a great encouragement to you. And I want to encourage you to be a part of that service because it encourages the next generation. Hey, I see you using your gifting for the Lord. That's awesome. I want to celebrate it. I want to make a big deal about you prioritizing Christ Church and serving Him. So that's going to be May 26th, the final Sunday of our missions month, and a wonderful time together. If we jump to the next slide, I get the wonderful privilege to talk about the money issue when it comes to missions. Now, you guys got a paper on your way in. Mission Support Revamp. What does it mean? What does it look like? As the kids say, change is terrible, right? I don't think it's just kids, but the teens hate it when we use the phrase, as the kids say, right? Do the kids say change is terrible? I'm sure they do at some point, right? But all of us, none of us like change. We're creatures of habit. We grow comfortable with what we're doing. We don't like when things change dramatically. And I'm here to tell you, it may seem like a dramatic change, but it's really not as dramatic as maybe it comes across in the first place. So what do we mean when we talk mission support revamp? Our current structure of missions giving is we give to missions, and our missions giving goes into an account, and then it gets divided amongst our missionaries. And it's a great system. It's what a lot of churches utilize in the area, internationally, I'm sure, as well. As we were preparing for Missions Month, and really it started last year, we began thinking through and talking, how can we make a more definite connection between the people here at Faith and the missionaries and ministries and church planners that we support? How can we draw them closer? So it's not just this abstract, I'm giving to missions, I'm giving directly to so-and-so that's going to such and such a place. And so through that, we took the missionaries and ministries and church planners that we currently support, and we divided them into 6 unique categories. And if you look at the back of your paper, it shows those 6 regions that we've divided our missionaries into. If you notice, there's Europe, there's Central and South America, Asia, Africa, North America, and then we have a home missions category. So what we're asking you to do is to consider, how can I give directly to one of these regions? How can I be a part of giving and financially supporting this specific group of missionaries? So let me give you an example. Maddie and I go home and we have a conversation. Hey, hon, reading through the list, is there one of these regions that you're really focused in on, that you have a real passion for? Great, awesome. Let's discuss how much we'd like to support towards, for example, Europe. We're looking to raise $400 that would support the missionaries there. Now, it would be awesome if we had over $400. That gives us room to start growing who we are sending into those specific locations. But that's the amount that we're seeking to raise to continue the partnerships that we currently have. And so Maddie and I discussed, we're going to support Europe, and we're going to give this amount each month. Pastor apparently has already given my support amount. We're going to give this amount each month, $100 to go towards the missions region of Europe. And so we're asking everyone to consider, as a family, as an individual, whether you're married, have kids, whether you're single as a Pringle, we want to encourage you. Use the finances that God has given you. Steward them for the gospel to go forward. Now, how do I sign up to be a part of this missions giving revamp? You can go to includefaith.org/missions. I encourage you, go there tonight, take a look at it. All of the figures that you see on the back, it's broken down into the various regions and how much we're looking to support. And I'd encourage you, take some time as a family, pray about it. As a couple, seek what God would lead you to do sacrificially for the gospel to go forward. But we're not asking it to just be about the financial side of the support. We want to encourage you. If you, let's say, sign up for the Central and South America region, we want to encourage you, yes, to financially partner with them, but we want to also encourage you to partner with them in prayer. And we want to encourage you to begin writing to them, emailing them, and finding out what is going on directly with them and supporting them on a personal level. We want to seek to cultivate and develop these relationships. So when the Tomberlins come back from Brazil and they're here at Faith, there should be a group of people at Faith who already know the Tomberlins incredibly well. Hey, we give to you every single month. Hey, we follow your prayer letters and your updates every time we get them. We've been praying for you. We've been connecting with you and emailing you and letting you know your support. When it's your birthday, we've been sending you a happy birthday message. We want to make sure that we're building deep relationships with the ministries and partners that we have for the gospel. It's not about just the financial. It's about every additional level of support. I have an aunt and uncle who are missionaries in Russia, and they've been there for several years. The things that mean the most to them is not when churches support them. Yes, that's great. But when individual families write to them, let them know they're praying for them. When a family hears about maybe some of the needs. For a while, they couldn't get peanut butter over there. And a family bought jars of peanut butter and shipped some jars of peanut butter over to them. And it meant the world to them. It means a lot when we have those personal moments of connection. So I want to encourage you, start to think through, how am I going to partner? What region am I going to choose? And what amount is God calling me to sacrificially to support our missions moving forward? We'd love to have all of these partnerships solidified by the end of Missions Month. When you go to includefaith.org/mission, there's a form on there for you to fill out with your partnership that you would like to do moving forward. By the end of Missions Month, we will have all of the regions on there. Let's say you've signed up for Asia, and you'll see Asia category there on includefaith.org/missions. When you click on Asia, it'll pull up another page with all of the missionaries' photos, their names, where they're at, and then it'll have a link for you to click directly to their website or their social media. So then you can, again, intentionally on your own, be proactive about engaging on what's going on with them. If you have any questions about it, we'd love to answer them. You can come talk to me. I can give some clarity on it if you have any questions. But we're so excited. I think this will really help us engage more fully with the gospel going forward in our missions giving. Pastor Paul?
Be a big change, but really the whole goal is accessibility, access, visibility, connectivity. We want that for you. We want that for us. Now, you might say, shucks, I really don't want a region. I just want to give money to missions. That's cool. You can do that. You can send to missions, and it will be something we can utilize either for love offerings or it can go towards one of the fields if we don't have it fully supported. But our goal and our desire is that we be able to come back to you at the end of May and show that not only is Central America covered, we have $200 we're going to pick up somebody. Hey, we don't only have Africa covered, we have $1,000 more for Africa that we can spend now. We want that for you all. We want that for us. Again, your name's not going to be posted out there somewhere like on the Africa list is the following people. It's an internal way of us knowing how to budget, how to utilize, how you can have access. And so that's what we desire for you as well. It gets a bit of a change. You'll hear some more about this. We'll keep rolling out to you and help you with that. And for those who say, I just saw a lot of stuff that really jacked up my schedule for nursery, connection group, kids classes, whatever. And I spent time on that, you punk. I will send you an email highlighting which dates are now free dates and you don't have to worry about. And then you can send me all the nasty grams you want back and it'll be fantastic. But I really hope you'll enjoy it. There are some other things we haven't mentioned along the way for teens and for young adults, for our kids, that every time they come, it's going to be an important and helpful time for them, something to build good memories around the gospel. So again, all that's to say, it will be what you make it, right? That's true of anything in life. It will be what you make it. And I hope at the end of the month, we'll look back and say, it was different, In some ways, maybe it wasn't your cup of tea. In other ways, maybe you loved it, wish it was like that all the time. Maybe it was frustrating. Maybe it took more time than you wished. But at the end of it, we hope that it's helped you, encouraged you, and you've been able to take a step forward, not only for the gospel, but in your willingness about missions financially and in connectivity, and then even maybe willingness to go on a mission trip in the future and experience that in person as well. Or our prayer is that God would stir men, women, and families and young people to go forward in this multiply endeavor to the mission field or here locally as well in church planning or revitalization endeavors. So that is our heart. That is our passion for you as well.